Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, and today we do have a positive video to talk about. And what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about some of these characters behind me. And the reason for this is I want to talk about some of the things that are going to be upcoming in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I also want to talk about how this might relate to Marvel Strike Force, because if you go back through the character releases that have happened in this game, usually about 40% of all of the character releases are somehow tied to the MCU, whether it's indirectly or directly. And so I want to talk about, you guys probably know just by, what's coming up, right? We're going to talk about all that and more, and my thoughts on who might be coming to the game. There are some rumors floating about around the Guardians, but I actually think that later on, especially post in 2023, that we might actually be getting some characters related to this. So we'll talk about that and more. Make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button down below and ring that notification bell if you want to know more about Marvel Strike Force. I do videos almost every day, so if you want to keep up to date, whether it's with these types of videos or event videos or anything else, then make sure you're following along. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Whoa, there's always like a 2-second delay or a second delay before I show up on the screen. So what has really jived me to make this video? Part of it is because I saw the trailer. I know it's a bit late for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And I have to say, I'm super excited about this. I saw it, and honestly, I think this is the first movie that's going to be showcasing the Phase 5. Yeah, it actually does say. First film of Phase 5 of the MCU. Super excited. I watched the trailer. Got me super hyped. And actually, that's one thing that's actually got me excited or kept me excited is some of the stuff coming down the pipeline in the MCU. And I don't know about you guys, but I am super thrilled with the possibility of what might happen in Marvel Strike Force in relation to this. Now, it is going live on February 17th. So, as far as timeline in Marvel Strike Force, this would be towards the end of the winter patch. Normally, the winter patch is December and January, so there's a possibility that characters related to this could be towards the end of the winter patch. There could be 1 or 2 characters, and then maybe it rolls over into patch. I don't remember what number we're going to be on or what that's going to be. 6.7 maybe? I don't remember the number. It doesn't really matter too much. But there's going to be a patch like essentially end of January, beginning of February. And that could roll over into some additional content related to Quantumania as well. And so I am super excited about who they might bring. Now, I want to talk really quickly about these characters here. Okay, so there's 2 villains and 3 heroes. We know, I'm pretty sure they announced that Ghost is going to be kicked. Well, okay, she's going to be joining the Thunderbolts in the MCU. So I think that there's a good chance that she's going to get the kick. At least in Marvel Strike Force. They might do a Thunderbolts team later, which involves a rework to Ghost. And basically, let's do a quick overview recap for those who really don't know, because I haven't built them up a lot, Pimtech. They were a Dark Dimension team. Don't build them now. They're pretty garbage. Like, there's no point in even touching them. However, if they do get a rework, which I think is pretty likely, that this will change. Whether it's for Dark Dimension or they'll add text to Crucible. And that's kind of where I think we might be heading with these characters. Will be some sort of Crucible team. Personally, I would like to see them to be a Crucible offense team. Why am I saying that? Because currently, the Bionic Avengers really kick the crap out of tech characters, and so I wouldn't want to see these characters on the defense, because that would make them very susceptible to the Bionic Avengers. Vision does get additional bonuses on his attacks against tech characters, Deathlock does on his ult, and just overall, they have huge damage potential on the Bionic Avengers. That being said, I think that Yellow Jacket and Ghost will probably get the boot. I think we will maintain Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I think that we're very likely to maintain Stature as well in this new team. Now, whether or not this is a new tag, I'm not sure. I think that very likely we could see a Hero Pimtech team in the kind of same vein as that we saw Hero as Guardians. I think that this is very likely. Or they will just go flat out and do a new Quantum tag. Now that leaves, if you're kicking out Yellow Jacket and Ghost, sorry Yellow Jacket, I mean he was one of the newer characters, But I think that it just doesn't fit into what I'm... Who knows? Maybe they will keep him. But it doesn't really fit into what I was thinking about. Unless they gave him the quantum tag and they just kick Ghost out. But that would give 4 pre-existing characters. While not impossible, it just means that they'll only release 1 new character relating to this team. Which is possible. They did that with Madeline Pryor. In Magic, when they released these to kind of fill out existing teams, and things like that. It was the same tag, though. They could do the same thing and just add a Pimtech character and, just rework the kits a little bit, maybe to add it to be more Crucible-based instead of Dark Dimension, which has kind of gone by the wayside, especially as we talk about Apocalypse and all things like that. But I'm kind of thinking that they will leave Yellowjacket and Ghost out in favor of some other characters. Now, if you go to the Marvel Wiki, I know it can be like a massive rabbit hole that you can just keep going and keep searching. But if you go down here to current and previous owners, I think some of the characters that are very likely will include some of the following. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be all of them or just a couple or one, but Henry Pym, Giant Man. So we know from the movie, from Ant-Man and the Wasp, if you watch the trailer, go watch the trailer, and so I'll give you 3 seconds. Spoiler territory. It's probably not because you've seen the other movies. He's in the movie, right? And so as Giant Man, though, that would actually give a different name in game, so it wouldn't be Ant-Man for one. It wouldn't be like Ant-Man Henry Pym or Ant-Man Henry. So they could do it as Giant Man. He was, the original owner, essentially, of the Pym particles, and very important in the MCU. So I would love to see this. I don't know what his role, all the characters' roles are going to be necessarily in the movie, but he's been in the movie, and so this could be very likely as well. He could be, we already have a Protector, so let's go back and check. We have a Stature as a Protector, we have Ant-Man as a Controller, and we have Wasp as a Blaster. So really that means that Giant Man could be a brawler character. Now they don't have to have like 5 classes. We don't necessarily need a support character either. Could be, maybe not. Don't necessarily need it, especially if it's an offense team. Then there's no reason that they need to have sustain if it's just a one and done kind of team. But yeah, Giant Man as a potential tech brawler. Biotech brawler? I'm not sure, actually, now that I think about it. I don't know him enough. Admittedly, I don't know the character enough to know what his origin would be. I thought because of the Pym particles, because then I was thinking back to Stature, who actually is a bio character. Because she was infused with the Pym particles, it was a little bit different in how that came about. And that is actually comic accurate. Second character that could possibly come, Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp. So in-game right now, the Wasp that we have is the MCU version. Actually, it doesn't say. I don't know if it ever said necessarily when she first came out, but I believe that this is intended to be the MCU Wasp, which was Hope Van Dyne, who actually isn't in the comics. I don't think she's in the comics because we have Nadia Van Dyne, who is the Wasp in the comics, who, if I'm not mistaken, is... I'm pretty sure her relatives include... so her father was Hank Pym, right? Okay, so just wanted to make that clear, but not Janet Van Dyne. It was parents Hank Pym and Maria Pym, who I don't know who that is. Probably just some person. So that was a thing. But she's known in the comics now as well. She's kind of on the Champions as well as some other like young character kind of teams. But I don't think this is likely, because we don't have this version in the MCU. I think Janet Van Dyne, she's in the movies, right? So I think this is very likely. Either Henry Pym and Janet Van Dyne, both of them, which would add to that Hero Pymtech team of the 5 of them. That could happen. There is one other alternative option that many people might not want to hear necessarily, or maybe they do. I don't know how likely this is. I think this is probably the most likely scenario here, with these 2 characters added in as a Hero Pymtech. If we're keeping some of the villain characters, like Yellowjacket, then we're going to talk about this. Ultron. So, Ultron was a super, super meta character in the game for like a year and a bit from when Dark Dimension 2 came out. I can't stress how amazing Ultron was. He was one of the best characters in the game. Now, what does Ultron really need, though, as far as a rework, if he came to Marvel Strike Force? Honestly, probably a base stat rework. His base stats are pretty garbage. Admittedly, I only have one red on him, and I'm going to try and find him in my roster here. He's pretty low down, I think, at this point, power level wise. But he was, and I really like the What If costume. He was very good, but his base stats are pretty trash. 240k health at 7-star gear tier 14 now is terrible. So really, he would just need a base stat rework. I think his kit is still viable. Because he buffs the team with his bots, and it's crazy. But the bots and him need a base stat buff to survive a little bit better in current content against current characters. So that's what I would be interested in seeing. Now, if they did do a rework to Ultron, that would change things a little bit. He would be the first character from a dark dimension that would receive a rework. But this was some time ago. Like, this was 2019. Like, I think he was released in 2019. Early 2019. I don't remember I don't have the exact release date on Ultron Dark Dimension 2, but that's what I'm thinking, because when they won Dark Dimension 2, there was the Widowmaker calendar, and the reward was Captain Marvel. And I'm pretty sure the Captain Marvel movie came out in, like, spring of 2019. So that makes sense to me as far as a timeline goes. I don't know what this Ultron Pym thing is. I don't know why he's labeled as that. I haven't been following Ultron in the comics, so I can't say. He looks pretty cool, actually. Looks like he has a real face almost. But yeah, I would love to see an Ultron rework come to the game. But alternatively, I would also be interested in seeing a Hero Pym Tech team that is usable in other game modes. Because currently, they're one of the trashiest teams. There's a lot of trashy teams, but this is probably, hands down, probably one of the worst, because nobody uses them for their intended game mode. And even when they did come out, the only real good character was Ghost, given the fact that I had her at gear tier 15, which means that if I did want to invest in these characters, if that happened in February or late January, I'd have a lot of stuff to do. However, I do have a 6-star, 6 red Wasp, and the others aren't too bad. They're all at 5. So I would consider this if it was a viable rework. Let me know in the comments down below, what would you think about a Pym Tech or additional characters or a Quantum team or whatever coming to the game? Ultron rework could be kind of fun. Who knows? I know there are some people out there with some big Ultron red stars that might actually think about this and might really enjoy this. Otherwise, I do tend to like rework teams. I know that not always they're the best in terms of like their viability in the broader game. This really varies a lot. Like Underworld, that was kind of skipped by a lot of players, but I actually thought they were a lot of fun. So there's some good fun potential value here in rework characters and rework teams. Let me know what you think about that. And that's the end of this video, of course. And until next time, everybody, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out for now.